Thank you, Chairman McCrory and Sanchez and Ranking Member McCarty. My name is Terry Wood. I represent Norwalk and Darien, 141st District, and I would like to cede my time to Harvey Hubbell today to speak on Senate Bill 1067, an act concerning dyslexia. Thank you.
Howdy, Education Committee. Thank you for having us here today, and thank you for all the hard work you guys do. So my name is Harvey Hubbell, the fifth. I'm testifying in support of Senate Bill 1067. From my experience as a dyslexic documentary filmmaker, the task force will help us steer the latest evidence-based information and get it programs into the schools and be able to implement it with fidelity. So I'm dyslexic. I was born dyslexic, and I'm planning on retiring dyslexic. I grew up in the great state of Connecticut, just like Jack's family. So I went through a public school system, and it's interesting to kind of watch the difference. And as you said, it's a new day. And we have dyslexic kids up here reading, right? This is what's happening. So really what we're all here about is just teaching kids how to read. And so we want to take the science out of the laboratories and bring it into the classrooms, which is really one of the most important things, because a multisensory education teaches everybody, not just the dyslexic kids, the invisible kids, the ones you don't know who are dyslexic, but all the kids. And the beautiful thing about dyslexia is dyslexia doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care if you're a man or a woman or who you worship. It doesn't make a difference if you're old or you're young. And some of the problems that we have with that. So personally, I like dyslexia. I think it's a great thing. I make a lot of great friends. Didn't know you were dyslexic because it's invisible. So our first grade teachers, our kindergarten teachers, some of the hardest working people you know. They've never been taught how to recognize certain things. Having a task force is gonna change everything. And maybe here's one of the reasons why, is that if teachers don't recognize a kid is dyslexic, they don't know what the behavior problem is, then they're not gonna give the kid the extra help, what they need. Once you're having a hard time reading and you become a behavior problem, because those two go hand in hand. I mean, you're basically on a school to prison pipeline. So as I sit before you guys and I think of the opportunities that you have, I mean, this is bipartisan. Who's against kids learning how to read? And I know we've passed great bills. It's a new day. The difference is now as we have this task force, other states look to us to see the legislation we have. We have some of the greatest researchers coming out of Haskins Laboratory down in a little town, down a little school called Yale. It's right here in our own state. We have great master educators. You're going to hear some of them. These kind of people on a task force could lead us into a great public school systems. So for the families that can't afford to send their kids to a public school, or to a private school, our public schools will be able to educate everybody. And you know something else about multisensory education, which works for dyslexics. Poverty mimics dyslexia, and so does second language learners if the kids aren't hearing it at home. So a multisensory approach and that same kind of thing that works for dyslexic kids work for everybody. So we're basically talking about, and I've also heard people talking about the problem.
Please summarize. Please summarize.
Okay, wrapping it up is the task force now to watch what's going on, implement the laws that are going on. Is going to make a difference because of the experts you'll be able to bring in. They'll take the information that's been in the laboratories into the classroom faster than any other state.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee?
Just a very quick comment, and welcome Representative Wood. I know you've been very involved in this issue for a long time, and I'm glad to hear you say it's a bipartisan effort that we're all here to really do and make the improvements that we we can. And you mentioned the multi-sensory approach. And do you believe that that could also help with our training of our early grade teachers all across the board? This would not only help our students that have dyslexia, but could also help with those students that are having difficulty learning to read. And then finally, I read your testimony last night. Did you create a film on dyslexia as well? And if you'd like to tell us quickly.
I made a little film called Disleksia, the movie, where I traveled around the country. I got to talk to all kinds. I've talked to the top master educators and the top neuroscientists. One of the things that I learned on my journey when I was making the film and meeting the great masters is that we had the information, we just can't get it out. But you're talking about first grade teachers and kindergarten teachers who are probably some of the most important people in our lives because they taught us how to read. Right? But what if they didn't have the instruction manual? And not everybody learns the exact same way. So because they learn differently, that's where we have to do the teacher training for these teachers. And these teachers, there are thousands of papers written on phonological processing and word recognition. But the teachers don't have enough time to read this stuff. They do when they're in the university, and that's sitting on a shelf in the university. We have to get this information out there, and I believe a task force would be able to help get it into the mainstream. Because it's causing us more not to do it right because of alcoholism, drug abuse, prison, depression, lost work. It's hurting the economy.
Thank you. And if I may, I think part of the mission of this task force is to actually look back at what we're doing with the universities and the training to be sure that they're complying with the law that we put into place. Goes right to your point that if we're not training the teachers coming in, how would they know about all of the different and various strategies? So thank you for that, and thank you for coming and giving your testimony today.
Thank you very much.